What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today we need to have a look at, well, some new cards from those starter decks. You know the starter decks that come in? They look really good. We got some new cards, and they look really good. Starting off with Marshall D. Teach, one of the ones that looks really good. What we got here is 2 cost, 3,000 power, counter plus 1,000, all fairly standard. But we got activate main once per turn, place a card from your hand on top of your deck, attach up to 2 rested Don cards to one of your leaders or characters. Now, here's the thing, right? Attaching 2 rested Don as an activate main once per turn is really good. Just leave this one sitting on your field and attach your Don turn after turn. That is going to be a huge advantage. Here's the thing. You don't have to rest this character. The bold and text says you place a card from your hand on top of your deck. Now the reason that's relevant is because if you rest this character, well, you got the rule that only rested characters can be attacked generally. So of course that means you're rested, your opponent can attack you. That's a bit of a problem. Here, if you're not rested, it makes taking this character out so much more difficult, and it means you get to use this skill turn after turn after turn, which is clearly a big advantage. But you see, the cost of using this character is putting a card from your hand on top of your deck. And remember, the entire point of this deck, the entire point of all these cards in the blue deck is to assist your Doffy leader. So what you really want is to be putting a bunch of cards on top of your deck so that you can activate the skill and you can find a card on top of your deck which just so happens to be a 7 Warlords of the Sea that just so happens to be a cost 4 or lower. So you can play it for free with your Doffy leader. And we've seen all these new blue cards are basically helping you to stack the top of your deck so that you can find a 7 Warlords of the Sea on top of your deck so that you can activate this Doffy leader skill over and over again. That's the point here. Well, this just lets you flat out put a card on top of your deck. Oh, and by the way, you also then get to attach 2 rested Dom. So you stack the top of your deck in the way that you really want to try and make sure that you can activate your Doffy skill. And then also, you get to attach 2 Don to one of your rested characters. Like, this looks absolutely nuts. This looks absolutely ridiculous. I adore this, ladies and gentlemen. I absolutely adore this. As a side note, you would choose 1 leader or character and attach 2 or up to 2 rested Dom. You can just attach 1 Don to the character or leader you've chosen, but you cannot choose more than 1 character. Oh, and remember that your Doflamingo leader, in order to activate that skill, you kind of have to already have some Don on there. It's a Don X2 skill. So here, you stack the top of your deck, then attach the 2 Don to Doflamingo, and oh look, you've now just need to pay 1 Don and you're guaranteed to play a 4 cost or lower for free. It is a ridiculous card in Doflamingo. It's one of my favorite new ones that we've seen from these starter decks. It looks awesome. But we do always keep seeing new Charlotte Pudding. Pudding comes around a lot, frankly, and there is a new Charlotte Pudding coming in here as well. What we've got is a 3 cost, 2,000 power, counter plus 1,000. On play, you may add the top card of your life to your hand and set up to one of your cost 3 or lower Big Mum Pirates characters active. It's fine. As a trigger, you rest one of your opponent's 3 cost or lower characters. Obviously, one big bonus here is trying to rest one of your opponent's characters so that they're then not able to attack. So essentially, they attack, this comes out, you rest a 3 cost, they have 1 less attacker to work with. It's not perfect, it's a decent trigger skill. As for the play skill, I don't mind it, but this one isn't, it's not stunning to me, it's fine. Adding the top card of your life to your hand does get your opponent closer to winning the game, but then by the same token, it also gives you a +1 card advantage, which is cool. Setting one of your 3 cost or lower Big Mum Pirates characters as active is fine, but it's an on-play, so you only get to do it once. This isn't a great attacker. You got to take a life. It's fine. And that really is the theme of this Charlotte Pudding card. I think this Charlotte Pudding is fine. I don't think this Charlotte Pudding is particularly good. I think this Charlotte pudding is fine. Maybe we need another new Charlotte character from this new starter deck. Maybe there's another one that we can go for. Well, ladies and gentlemen, have I got wonderful news for you, because we've got ourselves a new Charlotte Cracker from the same starter deck. We've got 4 cost, 5,000 power, counter plus 1,000, and once per turn, when this character would be KO'd by an effect, you may trash the top card of your life instead. Now, very important to note, it is trash the top card of your deck, which means you do not get to activate any skills. Trigger doesn't come in here, you lose a life and you get no benefit from it, but you get to keep this card on the field. And it's got 5,000 power, so it's a decent attacker. Not a great attacker, but a decent attacker. And keeping it on the board can be a good idea. It can give you 1 extra attacker next turn. And here's the thing, right? You don't want to trash the top card of your life, let's be clear. But you need X number of attacks to get through your opponent's leader and win the game. So it's one of those situations where you don't want it, frankly. However, this could be the thing that ends up winning the game. It could be a case of keeping this character on the board is the difference between winning and losing the game, and in that situation, it's worth giving up a life. Again, not a card I think is absolutely stunning. I think it's fine, but it's one of those characters where you could see it being useful. As a trigger, trash a card from your hand, play this card. It's all right. It's fine. It's not amazing, but it's fine. But it actually makes the rest of the card better, because the skill here is all right. It's basically a decent attacker that you can keep on the board more easily. But then the fact that you can end up playing it for free at the cost of just trashing a card from your hand, that also makes a rather large difference as well. I like this. I think this is a pretty cool character. I think both the skills, the trigger and the regular, are okay. But I think when you add them together, they do start becoming pretty gosh darn good. So how about, instead of looking at some yellow Big Mum, how about we look at some purple Straw Hat? How about we start off with Uso Hachi? Remember, when they're in Wano, they have slightly different names. Feel free to be happy about that or sad about that, but that's where we are. It's Uso Hachi, it's not Usopp, although it's basically the same thing. 3 cost, 3,000 power, counter plus 2,000. Always nice to have counter plus 2,000. That is a rather handy bonus. And we've got ourselves a skill here, whereby on play, if you have 8 or more Don, rest up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. We've seen a bunch of these back in OPO 5. These purple straw hats that essentially gain an extra skill if, when played, you have 8 or more Don in play. Doesn't necessarily have to be 8 or more Don, but it often ends up being. And the thing is, these skills are a lot better since we got Black Maria in OPO 8. Black Maria in OPO 8 makes a rather gigantic difference here, because of course you've got that skill that puts an extra 5 Don out on the field. And at the end of your turn, you have to then return Don until you have the same number as your opponent or less, but you still get them for now. So you can essentially use Black Maria, ramp up from 3 Don to 8 Don, and then you get this. Remember, purple has a lot of Don minor skills, so you'll often be minusing Don as you go. But essentially, you can use this to just get extra Don on the field, and then Uso Hachi is actually going to work rather nicely. And you're resting a 5 cost or less. That is a decent chunk of the metagame. Is it everything? No. Is it a decent chunk of the metagame? Yes, it absolutely is. And while we're talking about these purple Wano straw hats, we should probably take a little bit of a look at Sanji Goro. Be rude if we didn't, frankly, so we might as well finish off here. 5 cost, 6,000 power, counter plus 1,000, and we've got when attacking, once per turn, if you've got 8 or more Don, draw a card. I really like this. You're a 6k, so you're a good attacker, that's a nice bonus. It's a once per turn, so you can actually be firing this moderately often. And because of stuff like Black Maria, which you're just going to be playing in every purple deck, let's be clear, you can be firing this pretty often, even with a bunch of Don minor skills, and you've just got a decent attacker, which is drawing you a card every turn. Count me in, ladies and gentlemen. Count me in. So there we go. Couple of new Charlottes, couple of new Straw Hats from Wano, and Marshall D. Teach, your Blackbeard, which I think looks particularly good. But now it's over to you guys. Tell me what you think about these cards in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk about One Piece and a bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, and all kinds of fun things. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wasi Plays.